let's continue on with talking about parabolas. So here I've created a graph of a parabola. Looks like it opens up to the left, and you can see even here I have the directrix drawn. So this is the next kind of problem you're going to have, where they actually will give you the graph of the parabola, and in this case also the directrix. And based upon this, they want to know what's the equation of this parabola, and of course we'll give the equation a standard form. So the first thing you have to do this kind of problem is you have to determine what kind of parabola you have. Well, this is a left parabola, so I have to write down the standard equation for a parabola opens to the left. And I know it's going to be 4p times x minus h equals y minus k squared. Now really, to determine the equation of this parabola, I need to find three things. I need to find h, I need to find k, I need to find p. Because the x and y are going to remain in the equation of this parabola, but h, k, and p are going to be numbers. I need to figure out what those numbers are. Now this is not going to be too hard, because first of all, what do I know about h and k? H and k is the vertex of the parabola. Well, can I figure out what the vertex is of this parabola? Yeah, it's pretty obvious. It's right here, right? Looks like that point is -1, 0. Looks like the vertex is -1, 0. So therefore, h is -1, k is 0. Now if I can figure out what p equals, then I've got everything I need. Well, what is p? Well, p is that number that whenever you have the vertex of a parabola, you move a distance p to find the focus, and then you move the opposite direction, the same distance p, to find the vertex. Well, what's nice is if I know this is my vertex and this is my directrix, then what is this distance in here going to be? It's going to be p. So for this graph, what's this distance here? I go from x equals -1 to x equals 1. I've got a distance of 2. I was able to actually very easily determine p is 2. So I've determined what h is and what k is and what p is. Now it's just a matter of plugging them in, and that will have the equation of this graph. So 4p, 4 times, well, let me go and do it. 4 times 2 is 8. But there's one thing you have to be very careful of, and that's the sign on this, right? Which is positive or negative, and this is where you have to actually then go look at your graph, and you realize since it's opens to the left, this number has to be actually be -8. So that's one little catch there you have to be careful of. When you're all said and done, make sure the signs are correct. So -8 times x minus h, if h is -1, x minus a -1 is like x plus 1 equals y minus k. K is 0, y minus 0 is just 0. That should be the Now let me just give you help, because on the homework they're going to give you a problem, let me try and modify this graph. So say it's the same parabola, but say they did not, let me check on my computer. I think they do not give you the directrix necessarily. I want to make sure yeah. There's a problem where all they do is they give you a point. So let's pretend that we're not given the directrix, so we don't know that stuff. And instead, all they give you is, like, they give you a point on the graph. I think this point here is like 3, -4. So they give you a problem where they give you a parabola, and they give you one point on the parabola, and they say, what's the equation of that? Well, I know, let me work it over here. I still know that the standard equation is this, and I can still find the vertex. Let's go and plug in h and k. So I know here I'm going to have x plus 1 and y squared. So now really the question is, how do I figure out what p is? Well, the way to figure out what p is, you use this point they give you. This is a point on the graph, so like at that point, that's x equals 3 and y is -4. I can plug that point into my equation right here, and when I do that, the only variable left is p, and I can solve for p, right? So for p, I plug in 3 for x, 3 plus 1. If I plug in -4 for y, then I can solve for p. Well, 3 plus 1 is 4. This is 16p equals 16. Now, did I make a math error? Oh, you know what? This is -3. Sorry. So this should be -3 here. You probably saw that at the beginning. So -3 plus 1 is -2. That's -8p equals 16. And p equals -2. So therefore, I plug in -2 in here for p, and I get -8 x plus 1 equals y squared, which is my equation. All right. So those are two kinds of problems you're going to see where they give you a graph and information, and you can figure out the equations. Those problems are not too bad. There's one last kind of problem they're going to give you where they just give you what I call information, and they want you to determine the equation. So here's a problem I've set up. They say here's a parabola. And I got some marks on here. Let's do this. So they say we've got a parabola where the focus is 4, -2. And they tell you the directrix is y equals 9. And they want to know the equation of this parabola. Now, the only way, in my opinion, you can do this is you have to sort of take this information and sort of create a graph, a rough sketch. And then once you sort of see it, usually you can pretty easily figure out what's going on. Because actually, even by just looking at this, I don't know if it's an up or down or left or right or anything. But once I start to graph this information, that'll become very clear right away. So the first thing you have to do is just sort of create a graph and put on here what you know. So for instance, let me think. I think this is a pretty big graph, so let me keep my 2, 3, 4. Let me keep my marks sort of close together because I think I'm going to need the room. So for instance, the focus 4, -2. 1, 2, 3, 4, -2. That's the focus. I have no idea still what the parabola looks like. I just know the focus is there. And the directrix is y = 9. Y = 9 is going to be a horizontal line that goes through y = 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So really, my directrix is way up here at y = 9. This focus is at 4, -2. Now, based upon this, if I know my directrix here, my focus is here, I now know, what do I know? This has to be a parabola that opens down, right? Because I know the vertex is always in between my directrix and my focus. And actually, it's right always in the middle of these two, right? Because you move up P and move down P. So actually, if I sort of split the difference, I know where my vertex is going to be. So once again, let's take a minute now. Now we know this is a parabola that opens down. So I can go ahead now and write my standard equation of a parabola that opens down, which is going to be y minus k 4p equals x minus h squared. And once again, if I find h, k, and p, I have my equation. hk is the vertex. But I know, like I said, right? I hope you understand this, how the vertex is always halfway in between the focus and the directrix. So if I'm sitting down here at y = -2, and up here y = 9, that means I've gone a distance of 11. This is a little tricky because actually I might, just to make my numbers better, let me just make it simpler, even though my graph won't be. Let's just make my directrix. Sorry for making this on the fly. I don't want to make the numbers messy and have that confuse everybody. So if my directrix y = 10, the bottom line is the distance between the focus and the directrix is 12. Halfway is 6. So now my vertex, if I move up 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that should be my vertex. And it should be 6 from the directrix. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's my vertex. So I know the vertex is at 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. Vertex is at 4, 4. And then all I need to know is my P. What's P? P is this distance here. I've got H, K, and P. So basically, And if P is 6, it ends up being 24 times y minus 4 equals x minus 4 squared. All right. So sometimes I'll give you a problem where they give you information about the parabola. The only way to really solve it is to try and start graphing whatever they give you. And once you do that, you can figure out what kind of parabola you have. And then you can figure out your H and K and find your P, and usually you're good to go. All right, so parabolas. Hopefully you will not find them horribly difficult.